Hi everyone, welcome to Common Sense Podcast, where we apply common sense to everyday issues. Today's topic of the hour is on why do women still uphold marriage as a benchmark for success? What's your thoughts?
Honestly, I think it's purely down, a lot of it is down to socialization.
Go on.
I think we can't get away from that because I think from my perspective, even, especially I can only speak once again from as a African woman raised in a Ghanaian household.
Love it. Okay.
I think when you get to a certain age, I'm 30 now, you get to a certain age and the prayers you're getting is a year by this time, you'll be married with kids and that. And you're like, okay, but what about all these other beautiful things that I've accomplished?
That's traditionally what we're talking about now?
Yeah, and I'm like, why don't they mean something? Why are you not praying for me to become a millionaire? But there's always this idea that as a single woman, especially when I guess you've ticked all the boxes, you've done the education, the career, it's like, why married is like the next big thing. And I think it gets to a point where all of those things that you've achieved don't mean anything unless you're married. And that becomes the focal point of what everybody wants to discuss, purely because now I'm kind of getting it.
Do you know, everything that I tend to discuss, I have to look at it like dynamically. And that's why I often say that cultural background plays a huge role for how we tick.
Of course.
And the things that we demonstrate as a benchmark.
Yeah.
So if you're saying that naturally you are from, you've got a Ghanaian background, that makes sense. Whether someone has a cultural background, whether it's religious, these are the reasons.
Yeah.
But what about for those who are not from a strong cultural background, or not necessarily not strong, but doesn't have that strong influence, like those of us who are Caribbean or mixed Caribbean, which I am, there's going to be culture within that, half Jamaican, half Dominican, like I frequently say. On the flip side, there wasn't a strong enforcement of I must be married before having children, although that would have been their preference, of course, because you're settled to some degree and you're stabilized. But the reason why this subject for me was intriguing is because I find that men in the modern day dating field, relationship field doesn't necessarily feel that way unless they're from a cultural background like Africa, for sure, which I love. But women still secretly, I think as well, those who may be purely career driven, who said I don't want children and I'm not thirsty for marriage, I believe that they don't. Because I'm one of those people that I've never needed to chase a ring, never needed to chase a proposal. But I've always felt contentment in saying, I don't mind if I do and I don't mind if I don't.
If I don't,
People have an issue with that. I'm not saying no.
No.
I'm saying that I've never thirsted to have a ring.
Of course.
And that's the reason why I've tattooed my, you see, I have a Q and a red love heart. So coming from my mum always said to me, you shouldn't wear jewelry on that finger. That's reserved for your, wedding hand if you want to get married. The fact that I've actually marked it should tell folks that I'm not that person that thirsts a ring, or you would never do that. Anything that goes on top of that is a bonus to me, being with me. And I think women, some still have issues with that because they benchmark for successes. I've got a husband. And I keep saying to people, husband, wife, I hear the title, but what are the ingredients beneath the title? Because there's a barrage of divorces. So what's going on? If divorce is so high, what is going on? Why are you trying to convince me into a path that hasn't worked for you?
That's very deep. That is very deep. But I also, no, it is. Because actually thinking about it, and even you have people who are married, and even then, even if they're not having positive experiences in their marriage, they will still advocate for you to get married.
You see, that I can work with to a degree, because I do know three people at least, two women, one man. And even though 2 out of 3 is having turbulences, they still advocate for that level of respectful union. They still would remarry if it comes to it.
If it comes to it,
I know another guy, he's been married 3 times and willing to do a 4th.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he's not even 50. I think he's just about turned 50. So I guess if you look at a lot of our, historically, if you ask a girl from 13, she's already imagined my white dress when I get older.
Of course, because
that's
how you've been socialized.
Even being raised in the UK.
Yeah, because remember, you literally plan your life. Because even think about fairy tales. You've got your Prince Charming who comes and saves you, and then they live happily ever after. So we've been conditioned and socialized to think that, okay, there's this man that's going to come and save you and complete you. this is
sometimes for some they do get saved and completed.
yeah,
Lucky
of course.
souls, you know?
Yeah, it does. It does happen to.
But that's not what we should be
also, I think
for.
the reality is, and also coming to understand this is that there is no guarantee that might happen.
There's no guarantee it may happen. There's no guarantee when you get married. There's no guarantee.
Yeah.
I just think that I'm a big advocate on do what feels vibrationally right for you.
Yeah.
That's so important. So if you want to go from marriage to marriage, by all means do that. If you want to, that just means you've been blessed enough to meet people that want to constantly commit. But then sometimes those people are so fiercely committing because they don't know how to be alone. And I know that. There's many people that speak this way, but they don't know how to be alone.
Yes.
They would say they love their own company. It's because it's optional.
Yeah.
But could you do that full time? Could you do that full time? You see?
But the thing is that, right, sometimes I think about that and I think the bottom line is that we are social beings.
Yeah.
And there is that natural, I think, natural inclination to be around people. And I think it's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Farron, I always say it's beautiful to have people around you. I don't know to the extent of how it is, because I always say that in terms of when it comes to relationships, people always put romantic relationships above all the different other types of relationships.
Yeah.
When in actual fact, sometimes the relationships that you have they're not romantic.
Does it need to be romantic? Is everybody romantic?
No, because there's some, like I always say that some of the relationship I have with my girls, and I think, oh, these are fantastic loving relationships, which are not romantic in the sense that they're not going to marry me or anything, but the quality.
Is it more like the bond? More like soul sisters, like a soul
exactly?
Sister? Yeah, I love that.
So even that, and it's almost the same. I know people that will abandon that for a romantic relationship.
They will, and then if that don't work, they come back for their friends.
And then they come back.
You just hit a really good point. This is the reason why, whether I'm single, dating, or fully on lock, people have said to me, and I know they can never tell where I am. And that's because I've made it a thing to be consistent in my character as a solo individual. So if I'm seeing someone for 5 years, you may never know unless I told you.
Yeah.
And I've learned to be more concealed because there are times, especially when you're growing, you might spend a lot of time talking about your partner all the time, the good, the bad, the ugly. I've found that there's nothing wrong with talking, and I will if I want to. But even when you're in your dating period, sometimes it's nice just to keep it to yourself.
Yeah, and
I have nothing wrong with showing or going or exposing pictures on the gram. I'm all for sharing happy moments, but I think sometimes when I've reflected on how much we've capitalized on the importance of having a man, I've pulled back in the last year, last 3 years, of how much I speak about a one person, or I just skim past it and I would just because it should be. I can't allow it to be the benchmark of my success.
Do you know what? It's funny you say that because I can't remember the name of the YouTuber who got married and stopped putting out content with her husband purely because she was like, I didn't want this to be the main focus of my YouTube career.
Right.
She was like, yeah, it's great, I'm married.
Right. So was it their thing together in the first place?
No, it was just her.
So featuring him.
Yeah. So she started featuring him, and then she got to a point where she was like, actually, I don't want this to be the only content I put out because there's so many other facets to me. Yeah. That previously I didn't share this part of myself. Why then is this now becoming the focal point of the content that I create? So she made the conscious decision to stop then doing that content, which I thought was quite interesting.
That's interesting, but don't get me wrong, guys. I'm all for unions. There's different forms of unions.
Yes.
But here's what's really interesting, and this is why this topic was inspiring to me. There still seems to be a barrage of people that are more fixated on unions outside of themselves. When I look at a lot of these individuals, you know yourself, but I don't really see much of a union with self. You talk about how much you take care of your partner, whether you're female or male, how much you spend or cook for them, but I'm looking at the individuals and I don't think you spend that time on yourself. Yeah. There seems to be a lot of outpour outside of yourself. Now I remember having this talk with two sisters of mine in the last week. And I was saying that I'm very attracted to men that self-care. And I know for multiple people that's like, what does she mean? I'm more attracted to people that know how to date themselves. So when I look at that man, God, he's up in the morning and he's exercising or he's making his juices or he's spoiling his herbs. That's sexy to me because that you are on this self-care.
Yeah, because it then means that essentially you're making sure that the vessel
how you invest in yourself is what makes me attractive. I'm never fazed when people are like, we went here and we went there and we did this, because when you're still, what does your relationship look like? And distraction's very easy.
Yeah.
Very easy. So I was saying to three people last week, 2 women and 1 man, that I find it attractive walking down the aisle in the store and we're both picking up green, and we're excited to go to herb shops, and and I remember a guy's first date, he goes, "You gonna come gym with me?" And I was like, I like that. Now I may not have necessarily feel like I want to go, but I like that. It doesn't have to always be I'm sipping there drinking champagne. I don't really do pretentious too much.
Okay.
I don't. I love nice things, but I like to strip bare.
Yeah, but I think that's important.
Things that are of self-care. So I'm just saying, as a benchmark, I find it super attractive to date someone, be with someone, or marry someone who's into marrying thyself before they even consider me.
Yeah.
So I'm adding anyone that puts, the day I accept,
you're
a bonus to what I've already put here.
What you've already put here, yes.
And I love it when I'm sitting on a date and you're massaging my hands. What's that? It's my ring, baby. It's my ring. I love it. It does something. I must have twisted pleasures, but I love it. I'm like, raw. That's showing you that anything extra, I'm happy with this.
So so it's like you're content and you're happy with yourself.
I'm happy. And I'm not content with thyself in a computation.
Oh, of course not. Yeah,
but in that area, I can desire, I can long, I can yearn. But I like a few days ago, I said to a friend, I'm really feeling amazing today. Nothing new happened.
Yeah.
But you know what it was? I felt so good that I'd done a 12-hour shift and committed to swimming for the last 2 months. After 12-hour shift, I'm going swimming and going like aerobics. And I'm not saying it's got to be forever, but I felt it was climatic. Yeah? That was my erogenous zone. And that's what I mean. Like, there's nothing wrong with union. I'm all for it. But tap into you, man.
Of course.
Stop keep looking outside of yourself like, I must be married. I must have a man. I must have a woman.
Yeah, and then there are people that
do you know what I mean?
off doing things because, no, I can't go to this country. I need to go with... is a country I've put aside something to do.
I have friends who do that.
Yeah, but with a fictitious husband that isn't. I mean, it's great. You can desire, but I just think I can't get in line with stopping or leaving or not living my life on the basis that I've left this there so that this potential person who may or may not,
who may never come,
that because of this I'm not doing X, Y, Z.
Absolutely.
And I'm never ever going to stop saying it. And I also think that at the bottom line is something that we cannot ignore is that also there is a lot of pressure on women.
Do you think that's culturally again, or?
Yeah, I think it's a cultural thing.
Culturally, there would be pressure.
Culturally, there is a lot of pressure.
In a non-heavy cultural background, like those who are raised in the UK, I would say I have zero cultural pressure. My parents would have preferred. Like, oh, my daughter's at home with her husband for the last 20 years. That would have been preferred because then you don't know when I guess God takes them no time too soon, they can feel like, okay. But that's the thing. It's a beautiful thing. You want your children to be settled, but settled, if there's so much divorces, I'm sorry, marriage does not mean I'm settled. I can have a union with a man that's long term and doesn't have to be a wedding ring. Yeah. Although I wouldn't want to have more children out of wedlock based on what I'm giving the children. Some things that I will decide is because of for the children.
For the children.
Whether you've got the same name when you're going to school. But for me, I'm totally content with having a life of adventure with a union. I don't have to have the more children or the ring. I'm the kind of woman, I've said this before, that it's important to me to marry what I need as marriage material in the man for my needs.
Yes.
But we don't have to be married. And he says to me one day, honey, do you want to get married? I'm like, what are you doing tomorrow? Where do you want to go? Hawaii? What do you mean? Or a forest? Get married in the forest? Have a whole party in the forest?
And then,
what are you wearing? I'll be bare feet. So it doesn't really matter. But that's my style though.
Yeah. No.
That's actually my style. I would be barefoot. I more likely would be barefoot. I don't need all that. I love horses, so I would like to. We got our little dreams. But I'm not. What excites me, honestly, genuinely excites me, is knowing that that is wonderful and I'm open to it all. But I've turned down a few proposals in the past. And you're looking at time, TikTok, it might be the last one. That's never convinced me to say yes. With all the divorces, that's never convinced me to say yes.
But is it because in the back of your mind you knew that these men are not?
Well, I said no to them.
Yeah.
Well, of course I would have said yes. The reason why I said no is because although I can still not, just because we must kind of also bear in mind that we tend to rubbish each other if something doesn't work.
Yeah.
And there's many beautiful people that's just not right for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the one I mentioned previously, who I dated during lockdown, we prayed with, we meditated with, one of the deepest form of intimacy.
Yeah.
He would be amazing for the right woman. He's a beautiful soul.
Yeah.
But he was not just enough masculine enough for me or assertive enough for me. I can't keep telling you basics. Yeah? So assertive person is very important. So again, I'm all for union, but I just feel like the fact that I love the feeling of desiring that or having that possibility, but being excited within self just because I'm self.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah?
Yes.
So wanting it is amazing, but
you don't want to hinge.
No, I'm not. I'm a free spirit anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and free spirits, everyone comes in their own way. I think people can misunderstand what I'm saying often.
Yeah.
I'm all for marriage. I'm all for singlehood. I'm all for dating. Whatever way it looks like for you, but I've never craved a ring. Yeah,
So
I've never craved a ring.
Yeah.
You can crave the union, but I've never craved the ring. And that's made me aware that if I've always felt like that, that's probably the reason why I've never had an issue meeting men who want to get married. It's always the ones who crave it that never seem to meet the ones that want to commit. My history has told me that I'm the problem in terms of I have the options. And the reason why I've turned down
I was going to ask you how many proposals have you turned down?
What, serious ones?
Yes.
There's only one I said yes to.
Oh, really?
But then I couldn't take the unnecessary lies that used as jingles. I just couldn't. Like, we've all got something. We've all got something to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think at that stage of my life, I was going to move to LA. I was kind of playing with music and creative arts. And I had to think to myself, if I move to LA, am I financially free or independent enough to be able to carry this if we don't work out? And I was only 20, my head was screwed on. I was like, no, I'm not. He was happy to want to get me a house in Hampstead and all sorts.
Yeah.
He had no issue popping that question whatsoever. You know, he was older than me as well. But I said to myself, I said, can you give me a little while to grow into womanhood?
Yeah.
I say yes. But I need some time to grow into womanhood. He was rushing me up the aisle. And normally it's women that do that.
Yeah.
Imagine. So I then asked myself, am I scared of commitment?
Yeah.
But then no, I'm not scared of commitment because the fear of commitment can only be fearful depending on what's been placed upon you. That's not you. There are people that are married live in separate homes, which is mad to me, but that works for them.
Yeah. No.
So you can create your own blueprint. You don't have to keep going with other people's blueprint unless you come from a cultural background that you have to obtain.
Yeah.
Which is awesome what I just said.
No. It was a lot. No.
Go on.
No, because I'm only asking, and I guess from your perspective as a young woman at that time, I always
Hello.
I don't think.
Hello, I'm still young.
Okay.
I'm joking.
No, I think in your 20s.
Yeah, I was a baba, man.
Yeah, and it's
my head was screwed on though.
Yeah, because you did a good job on that point. Because I was gonna say, for me, it just sounds like from how can I just ask what was the age difference?
God, 20. He was at least 10 and change, but he lied about his age as well.
Yeah, see, for me, I feel like that would have been screaming to me on equal bargaining power, which is why.
But guess what?
But then obviously you were screwed on enough to be like, no, wait for me.
I need a moment to grow into womanhood. But I say yes.
Yeah.
My peers thought I was crazy to say no.
Really?
Because of his background. He was, travelled with the mainstream celebrities to this day. Lived with mainstream celebrities to this day. So the truth is, it was like, why does he want me?
Right.
But yet, you would have certain gorgeous celebrities that will ring you up like, can I have a photo shoot? Can I have this? Can we do film? He's on like celebrity like videos that are out that everyone's known. So in my head, I actually had the insecurity of why would he want me? Because in my head, I'm thinking just based on status.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but in reality, he just saw my own potential.
Yeah, that you obviously couldn't see.
Do you know what? I saw my potential, but when you got that level of women, I couldn't see why you'd want to go back to home.
What? Yeah, no.
But had I been in a celebrity status, I would definitely have been worthy because I know my gifts. Yeah. So my abilities, but my own insecurity. But I still said yes. But I couldn't understand why. And plus, I'd already had my son, which was not his son.
Okay.
And I wanted to monetize what he was like.
Yeah.
That was very important. And rather than saying, I need a ring.
Yeah.
What are you going to be like? Because at this point, my son's impressionable. And are you safe? Are you a role model?
Yeah.
Are you a role model for yourself?
Oh, no, that's a valid point.
Yeah?
I think it's completely different.
I've always been like that. And even though my son's a grown man now, not looking for any father figure, do you know I still low-key try to date men that are a role model for themselves. So my son doesn't look at me like, are you 16? Because sometimes as women go back, we're like, oh, we're free now. You start dating gangsters and stuff at this point. So having a couple of errors, but that's my usual benchmark. But relationships is not a benchmark for my success, unless I'm successful in that relationship.
In that relationship, of course, because that's the two very different things.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. If your relationship is successful, is much better than you thinking you need that relationship to consider yourself as being success.
Absolutely. So on that note, I think this is a subject that we can expand upon. Maybe we can bring a male in the mix and see what they think. Someone who's married versus who's not. And then maybe we can expand upon the advantages or disadvantages of being single.
Yeah, and also just to look at it to see if, because I don't think men have see marriage as a marker of success, do they? I don't think they do.
Call of duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that note, to be continued. See you next time.